Yes, the Democrats and establishment rhinos wrecked American democracy and stole the 2020 election from the American people. And yes, they will pull every dirty trick in the book, including attempts to remove Donald Trump's name from the ballot to secure a victory in 2024.
Every time who I am, hot damn, I'm the man. 6 shooters in both my hands. I'm a cold-blooded brother, a real bad mother. Watch out, honey, here I am.
Welcome back, Revved Up Rebel Nation. We are back like mask mandates. Don't fucking comply. I know I'm a little late to the dinner table on this, but with election season kicking off, it's time for us to feature our revved up political power rankings. And coming in at number 1 is our very own heavyweight champion, Donald J. Trump, followed by a laundry list of who gives a shit. Now, before I get going, I want to remind everybody to like, share, comment, subscribe, and don't forget to follow me on Rumble and X because I have no idea how long until YouTube digitally JFKs me here again. But make sure you follow me on X, where I soon plan to start creating some short-form, exclusive content. Anyway, back to the topic at hand. Originally, I was planning for this video to be a Ron DeSantis takedown effort, but here at Revved Up, we're not in the business of beating dead horses, and DeSantis is the dead horse in this race. With the Twitter buzzards already picking that campaign to the bones, there's hardly a dead horse left to beat anyways. So 2024 is Trump or bust, or as some based Yankees fans would say, never thought I'd hear those words come out of my mouth. Trump or death. Yes, 2024 is the year of the Donald, and nobody recognizes that fact more than the communists, Democrats. Whatever, it's a distinction without a difference. In what might have been the most ill-advised political strategy since DeSantis decided to run against Trump.
There he is, beating that dead horse. Get it!
The totally not politically motivated Democrats in my home city of Atlanta thought it would be a swell idea to take the most popular and revolutionary figure in American politics this side of 1776 and make him the first president in American history with a mugshot seen around the world.
Some people are really fucking stupid.
And what was supposed to be a humiliation ritual for our former and future president has predictably turned into a lesson of unintended consequences for the petulant children of our nation's establishment. It is a fresh reminder that despite our establishment's grip on the institutions of America, they are less of a powerhouse and more of a Potemkin village, a facade of authority that is as stupid as it is corrupt. But don't take my word for it. Just watch Nicole Wallace bravely fighting her terminal bout with TDS as she struggles to stave off a straight-up giggle fit while reporting the news of yet another trumped-up Trump arrest.
Unfolding a flood of new developments to tell you about. Just a few minutes ago, Donald Trump, the disgraced ex-president, the frontrunner for the Republican nominee for president, 4 times indicted, departed his golf club in Bedminster, New Jersey. He's en route to Fulton County, Georgia, via Newark Airport, we believe. He will surrender himself for processing at an overcrowded jail with a reputation for violence and neglect. A jail that is accustomed to holding defendants facing charges up to and including violent crimes, where stabbings are frequent. Actually, 3 people have lost their lives over the last month. That jail is where the disgraced ex-president of these United States is heading right now.
Notice the way the haggard old bitch and former communications director for unipartyist George W. Bush can't contain her glee as she recounts multiple recent murders at the Fulton County Jail, because human life is but a small price to pay for a fleeting moment of catharsis and the Pyrrhic victory of arresting Trump for being orange on a Friday night. But more on that later. Of course, many of the media are so desperately trying to frame the arrest, of which we are now losing count of, as the embodiment of the pure and true pursuit of justice and the triumph of the American way. Another irrelevant diversity hire, talking head over at MSNBC, whose on-camera auditions would have sparked uproarious laughter just 10 years ago, had this to say about Trump's most recent arrest.
This week, the world laid eyes on something we'd never seen before, the mugshot of a former American president. Former President Donald J. Trump turned himself into Fulton County Jail on Thursday. He's facing 13 counts related to his efforts to overturn the 2020 election in Georgia. In addition to having his mugshot taken, he was fingerprinted and he was issued an identification number. And he was released on a $200,000 bond. Within hours, the image was broadcast across television, across social media. It was emblazoned on T-shirts and even coffee mugs, and was splashed across the front pages of the world's leading newspapers. And that's because the image on your screen right now, this isn't just a picture. It's not just a monumental moment in history. This mugshot is an embodiment of the American principle that no one is above the law. Even a one-time occupant of 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue, even Donald Trump. Folks, this is what accountability looks like.
Ah, yes, this is what accountability looks like. Of course, I'm assuming they had to linger on the mugshot for so long because sweet and simple Simone there was struggling to get the words out with a straight face. Not to repeat myself, but as the meat puppets of the Mockingbird media and their clapping seals on social media would have you believe, this is about truth, justice, accountability, and no one being above the law. It's the same message they parroted so fervently when Joe Biden faced justice for peddling his political influence to adversarial foreign oligarchs, or when all those rich and powerful names on the Epstein client list were swiftly rounded up and sentenced to life in Supermax. It's a stark reminder that the elites who run this country fucking despise you and are absolutely giddy for any opportunity to piss in your face and tell you it's raining. And of course, that's the real reason that they're going after Trump with the ferocity of a cornered honey badger. He represents our interest, not theirs, and they fucking hate us. But their hatred makes them stupid, and you can see their whiny, pathetic, and entitled disdain clear as day in this headline from The Atlantic. The mugshot is a warning. Donald Trump's booking photo was supposed to be an exercise in humility. He turned it into a threat. Boo fucking who, little bitches. What needs to be understood is that the left is carrying out a long-laid plan that plodded along unopposed for so long that they never even bothered to develop strategic response initiatives that could have effectively maneuvered any unforeseen obstacles like, I don't know, say a Donald Trump presidency. In fact, the most successful aspect of the Donald Trump presidency was just the existential reality that Trump was the populist iceberg to the left's elitist Titanic, and their hubris led them to believe that their ship was unsinkable. Learn a couple lessons from history. But the establishment's frenzied panic to keep the ship afloat and on course only led to ruthless, reckless, and pernicious behavior that for the first time left the establishment truly exposed for their corrupt and criminal behavior. So it's no surprise we're seeing videos like this pop up all across social media.
That Trump triggered me, and then here I am today. I'm backing him up. I'm freaking backing him up as if he's my own father or family or something, because I'm seeing what he's doing, I'm seeing what he's doing on the ground. He's not only just talk, he's all about action, and I like that. I like that he does what he says he's gonna do. He is real, and I appreciate that.
They were also long accustomed to dealing with neocon Republicans that could be picked up cheap at anywhere that sells doormats. They weren't prepared for the new right that doesn't shrivel up under bogus accusations of racism, homophobia, or fucking fat phobia.
That was the most racist joke ever.
No, I got like 4 more in the chamber.
They weren't prepared for the new right that stays jacked to the gills on relentless, rambunctious, and hilarious meme warfare. They weren't prepared for the new leader of the Republican Party to get thrown in for a mugshot and deliver a piercing scowl that insists they have no idea just how fucked they really are. After 7 years of ceaselessly battling Donald J. Trump, they somehow still managed to manufacture this entire spectacle, believing that the overarching narrative would be Trump's humility.
This guy is fucking stupid!
With the interminable lawfare waged against Trump, the exorbitant prison sentences of Joe Biggs, Enrique Tarrio, and many others, as well as the free speech persecution of Douglas Mackey, go look that one up if you're not familiar, the establishment has fucked around and turned MAGA into outlaw politics, as if Americans wouldn't step up to them like,
I'm your huckleberry.
America fucking loves its outlaws because we're a nation essentially founded by outlaws and rebels that personified the indomitable, pioneering fortitude of the American spirit. From Billy the Kid to Bonnie and Clyde, it's America's outlaws that populate our national folklore and define some of our most iconic cinematic characters, like Justified's Boyd Crowder.
Now I know people like you used to taking people like me. But there comes a point when people like me can't take any more taking. and all the things you've done, the way you've built your fortunes, it might make you criminals, but it don't make you outlaws. I am the outlaw, and this is my world.
Well, doesn't that just capture the moment? And we're seeing the results of the outlaw effect resonate through every subset of the American populace. We're seeing it with the black population.
You guys still don't get it. Have you guys not seen what's going on? The tide is turning. As much as you guys want to argue it and say that everybody's voting Democrat and we love Joe Biden and Joe Biden 81 million votes my ass, the tides are turning. Check it out.
Who voted Democrat, who had issues with Trump.
For no reason.
Not even that you even know why you had your issues, just
no
the way
reason.
you pushed it.
I'll
so
tell
you
you,
guys
no
hated
reason.
him. All right, it's all good. But at some point, many of y'all have changed your mind. And you now support Trump, but you're doing it on the sneak.
It's all right.
Come on, y'all.
Let the world know.
Let's own up to it so that we can all support this man together.
The hood is waking up. They're starting to even realize that they've been lied to, that they've been pimped out.
Bamboozled.
Trump, man. Even the youth, they know what time it is, man.
I was scrolling on Instagram and I seen blacks for Trump. And I was like, what? What?
Yep.
We finally on board with Trump? Finally?
Yep. They're gonna learn.
The more you indict, the more we unite. It's Trump 2024. You already know when the hood got your back.
Trump,
Man,
we
they
with you.
deep in the hood, gangsters. Holler about Trump 2024, you heard me?
Easy.
Wow.
Easy.
Gangsters.
Easy.
Trump is a brother now. I'm sorry.
He's always been.
You go to jail in Zone 6 Atlanta, you a brother.
Oh, yeah?
Straight up.
Okay.
They fucked up.
Big time.
They don't fuck around, they gonna find out, dude. Cause how the fuck you gonna lock up Trump? If that nigga win 2024 election, you think that nigga ain't gonna double back?
We winning.
You think he ain't gonna spin the block?
Even based Arabs are rocking with Trump.
خذها يا ترامب وخلصنا من هالقرف. Trump 2024. Arab for Trump this year. Take this crooked Biden. He don't know how to walk. He don't know how to talk. Take him out 2024. Let's go, everybody. Arab for Trump.
Though not necessarily a new trend, the Latinos are definitely stepping out for Trump.
Fuck Joe Biden, yeah, I'm voting for Trump. Fuck Joe Biden, yeah, I'm voting for Trump. Voting for Trump, the whole hood's for Trump. Fuck Joe Biden, yeah, I'm voting for Trump. Blacks for Trump, Latinos for Trump. United we stand, and we standing with Trump.
Dear white people, will you take our vote? Why the Democrats always try to steal our hope?
I'd rather have a president with a mugshot than the president pedophile that we got. I'm sorry, Trump, I ain't vote for you last time. They was hating on you spreading lies last time. It made me relate when they hit you with the Rico. Now the whole hood screaming free Trumpito.
You heard that, right? Made me relate when they hit you with the Rico. Now the whole hood screaming free Trumpito. The outlaw effect is real, and the only people that it doesn't touch are the overeducated, under-inspired, pencil-neck, punk bitch liberal whites who are drowning so deep in their own narcissism that they don't even realize that their hatred for Trump is little more than a defense mechanism, an outward projection of how much they actually hate themselves. But that isn't stopping the same people who have screeched for years about systemic racism in the justice system from declaring that any notion that Trump's mugshot might make him more relatable to black people is despicable racisms in and of itself. Take Brian Metzger, senior political reporter for Insider, as he tweets, "I'm sorry, but the argument that the mugshot will increase black voter support for Trump is so insanely racist, I can't even believe people are saying it out loud." Hold on. Let's pop in on that profile picture right quick. Aww, that's freaking adorable. It's like you can just tell that second ball is about to drop at any moment. And you're a senior political reporter at Insider? That's just precious. Good for you, little buddy. Just one quick question. Why'd you turn the comments off, Brian with a Y?
Then there are some people, they're not stupid, they're full of shit.
These liberals are so predictable, you can always count on them for a rousing round of contradiction cop-out that always results in a statement as dedicated to political expediency as Hunter Biden is to hooker hoedowns. But as ludicrous as all the kangaroo court indictments against Trump have been, the Fulton County indictments rise to a whole new level of malicious intent with downright pestiferous consequences to the legal and political order. We'll get into the preposterous trappings of the actual charges in a minute, but it's important to fully digest the implications of Fani Willis's RICO approach, which even rolled up Trump's constitutionally protected legal counsel as co-conspirators to Trump's plot to commit what isn't even a real crime. All you have to do is look back to the 1960 presidential election, where Hawaii sent a dissenting slate of electors for Kennedy to find the legal precedent that removes all justification from Fani Willis's case. But the Fulton County case against Trump is not about truth and justice in the American way. Quite intentionally the opposite. The approach in Fulton County is straight out of the communist playbook that rolls up the charades of show trials, struggle sessions, and intimidation tactics into a brute force power display meant to chill any political dissidents against the rising tide of American Marxism. Communists are, by nature, power-craving, narcissistic megalomaniacs, and Fani Willis is playing that part to a T. To Fani Willis, who has legitimate close ties to avowed, historically nefarious communists, more on that in a minute, a constitutional crisis that dismantles whatever little faith the American people have left in their justice system and institutions at large, is not a risky gamble of consequence, but a cherry on top of her socialist sundae. It's the acceleration of America's collapse into the dustbins of history, a monumental moment of triumph for the Marxist muckrakers that have been subverting and infiltrating our political order for decades now. To truly understand the absurdity of the Fulton County case against Trump, all one has to do is go through the laundry list of actions that were deemed an overt act in furtherance of the conspiracy. And as I read through the downright heinous actions of the Trump team, remind yourself that RICO charges are generally reserved for the mafia and other organized crime rings. From the Federalist article, How Stupid is Georgia's Anti-Trump Case? They indicted Trump for tweeting at people to watch TV by Tristan Justice. Asking for a phone number is now a conspiracy. The Fulton County prosecutor indicted Meadows for soliciting phone numbers from a pair of Pennsylvania lawmakers. Meadows sent a text message to United States Representative Scott Perry from Pennsylvania and stated, "Can you send me the number for the Speaker and the leader of the PA legislature? POTUS wants to chat with them." The indictment reads, "This was an overt act in furtherance of the conspiracy. Encouraging voters to watch television is a conspiracy." Act 22, cited in the Georgia indictment, charged Trump with conspiracy for encouraging supporters to watch hearings broadcast on One America News Network. Georgia hearings now on One America News Network. Amazing, the president tweeted. This was an overt act in furtherance of the conspiracy, the indictment read. Grassroots campaigning is a conspiracy. Act 38 of the criminal indictment charged Giuliani for retweeting a patriot call to action that encouraged voters to call their members of Congress for their cause. The tweet stated, "Georgia Patriot call to action. Today is the day we need you to call your state senators and House reps and ask them to sign the petition for a special session. We must have a free and fair elections in Georgia, and this is our only path to ensuring every legal vote counted. At Real Donald Trump." This was an overt act in furtherance of the conspiracy, the indictment read. Reserving rooms is a conspiracy. Defendant David Schaefer was indicted for reserving a room at the Georgia Capitol in December of 2020. Reserving the room, which was used for a meeting of alternate presidential electors, was declared by prosecutors an overt act in furtherance of the conspiracy. Seeking signature verification is conspiracy. Act 32 of the criminal indictment charged Trump for calling on Georgia state leaders to ensure signature verification and call a special session. According to Willis, the December 6, 2020 tweet was an overt act in furtherance of the conspiracy. I'm sorry, guys. I'm trying to be serious here, but this is just so fucking absurd. I can't even read the damn charges without laughing my fucking ass off. Holy shit. All right. My cameraman's fucking laughing back there. All right, guys. We're going to try to get through this with a straight face. I'm sorry. This is hilarious. I mean, it's sad, but it's fucking hilarious that this is what they're charging Donald Trump with. So anyways, let's keep trying to get through this. Let's try to muscle through this absolute preposterous joke of an indictment and see if we can't get through this here. All right. Encouraging someone to attend a hearing is a conspiracy. Act 45 of the indictment faults defendant Michael Roman for requesting an unidentified, unindicted co-conspirator to encourage co-defendant Misty Hampton to attend a House committee hearing in Georgia on election fraud. This was an overt act in furtherance of the conspiracy, the indictment read. Encouraging special legislative sessions is a conspiracy. Act 28 of the indictment charged Trump for meeting with the Pennsylvania House Speaker to encourage a special session of the Assembly. This was an overt act in furtherance of the conspiracy, the indictment read. Phone calls to lawmakers are conspiracy. Trump made 2 phone calls to President pro tempore of the Georgia Senate, Butch Miller. The 2 calls, dated December 3rd and December 26th, 2020, were an overt act in furtherance of the conspiracy, according to the indictment.
They're fucking nuts!
I was planning on commenting on each one of those accusations individually, but I couldn't even get through them without laughing, so it's honestly not a worthwhile expenditure of energy, as the non-criminal nature of these accusations are so readily apparent that even a 5-year-old with a precursory understanding of the American Constitution would not have the imagination to twist these accusations into criminal behavior. But that might be the point. To assault the Constitution head-on through our captured institutions using such a polarizing vessel as Trump to thread the needle so that normal people who still believe in at least some facet of the Constitution will be convinced to toss the baby out with the bathwater because they so blindly despise the target of the investigation that they'll see him imprisoned by any means necessary, even if it means relegating the Constitution to being printed on 2-ply Charmin. Now, if you made it all the way through that lengthy list of dastardly deeds with sympathies, emphasis on simp, for the prosecution, you might be a communist. And there's a solid reason to believe that Fani Willis is just that. The truth is, Fani Willis was raised by an avowed communist. Her father, John Floyd III, was a founding member of the proto-terrorist Marxist organization, the Black Panthers.
About maybe we ought to start our own just black political party. And that's what we started. We started the Black Panther. I had, by the way, prior to that time, I had been down in Alabama and I had worked with the Lowndes County Free Organization, which later became the Black Panther. Everybody started calling it the Black Panther Party. That's really the original Black Panther Party, is the Lowndes County, Louisiana.
At one point, he was even the live-in lover of none other than twice VP candidate of the Communist Party and unrepentant communist terrorist Angela Davis. For the Washington Free Beacon, Willis is extremely close to her Black Panther conspiracy-mongering father, who raised her by himself and often took her along to his militant work, so she was raised in that milieu. Willis says that she speaks with her father, who calls the police the enemy and still believes that the CIA assassinated Malcolm X, about 10 times a day, so he remains an influence. As to why the Washington Free Beacon, a purportedly right-leaning news outlet, chose to implement the conspiracy theory disparagement strategy is beyond me, given the preposterously high batting average of anti-establishment conspiracy theories. But the extremely close relationship that Fani Willis maintains with her communist father is rather compelling evidence that Fani Willis herself lands somewhere on the spectrum between sympathetic pinko and full-blown Maoist, the latter being more likely. And to compound the concerns of Marxist infiltration in the less-than-tactical, overtly brute-force takedown of our beloved former and future president, Judge Chutkan, I don't know if I'm saying her name right, who is presiding over Trump's federal case in D.C. pertaining to January 6th, the worst day in the history of democracy, is, according to the New York Post, the scion of Jamaican Marxist revolutionaries. As the article states, the judge assigned to former President Trump's multiple indictments stemming from his efforts to overturn the 2020 presidential election is the scion of a family of revolutionary Marxists in her native Jamaica. Judge Tanya S. Chutkan, an Obama appointee, is the granddaughter of Frank Hill, a Jamaican communist revolutionary who, along with his brother Ken, were briefly jailed by the island's British governor during World War II over suspicions of subversive activities. As the judges appointed to take down Donald Trump would indicate, communist subversion seems to be a hereditary trait passed down from generation to generation, as Judge Chutkan developed the transparently political strategy of kicking off Trump's federal trial the day before Super Tuesday, ultimately removing him from the campaign trail just as election season really kicks into full swing. It's clear as day for anyone with two eyes to see and two brain cells to rub together that the entire legal witch hunt against Donald Trump is all about subverting the level playing field of the very same democracy that our ironically named Democrat Party pretends to hold so sacred. It's about election interference, pure and simple. Drain Trump's war chest with legal fees and keep him in the courtroom and away from his 60,000 head count political rallies. It also remains true that projection is a core methodology of subverting the American political order and everything our nation stands for. The right worships God, while the left worships power. We study the Bible, they study Saul Alinsky's Rules for Radicals, which of course states that you must always accuse your opposition of doing precisely what you are doing. I might have to do a separate video on that particularly destructive piece of literature. We've seen it time and time again throughout the left's many failed attempts to destroy the man who seeks to restore American glory. We saw it in Trump's first impeachment trial, when Trump was quite literally impeached for a crime Joe Biden committed. They claimed Trump was guilty of offering a quid pro quo for threatening to withhold foreign aid from Ukraine unless they looked into Biden family corruption. Then they return a blank stare when a video surfaces of Joe Biden at the Council of Foreign Relations bragging about threatening to withhold foreign aid to Ukraine unless it fired a prosecutor who was looking into his family's corruption.
And I had gotten a commitment from Poroshenko and from Yatsenyuk that they would take action against the state prosecutor, and they didn't. So they said they were walking out to press conference. I said, no, I said, I'm not going to, we're not going to give you the $1 billion. They said, you have no authority. You're not the president. The president said. I said, call him. I said, I'm telling you, you're not getting the $1 billion. I said, you're not getting the $1 billion. I'm going to be leaving here. And I think it was, 6 hours? I looked, I said, I'm leaving in 6 hours. If the prosecutor's not fired, you're not getting the money. Well, son of a bitch. Got fired. And they put in place someone who was solid.
In New York, they are spuriously charging Trump for misrepresenting his personal wealth, while politicians ceaselessly line their pockets with cash from shady backroom deals, stock trades based on privileged information, and their own extensive networks of shadowy, dark money donors that contribute to their political malfeasance. In Florida, they're charging Trump with illegal classified document handling, despite the fact that Trump is legally protected by the Presidential Records Act, while Joe Biden keeps way more boxes of classified information next to his famed Corvette in his garage, where his crackhead badman of a son Hunter has direct access to all of it. And those documents were from Joe Biden's days as a vice president and senator, when he doesn't even enjoy the privilege of protection of the Presidential Records Act. Is Biden facing charges? Of course not. In D.C., Trump is being charged for inciting the January 6th riot when he told supporters to peacefully and patriotically protest the sketchiest election in American history, while undercover agents did everything they could to inflame the passions of his supporters. And Nancy Pelosi did everything she could to ensure that there was as little security as possible at the Capitol that day.
Nancy Pelosi would have ended up being called as a witness. She did not want to be called as a witness because there is a substantial amount of evidence that she, as the presiding officer, was pre-warned of something might be happening on January 6th, and there is plenty of evidence to suggest that she was not doubling down on security on that day, and the former boss of the Capitol Police would have testified to that very point.
And let's not forget how they immediately memory hold that 18-page article from Time Magazine's Molly Ball that broke down in detail how a shadowy cabal of behind-the-scenes power players rigged the election to put corrupt and decrepit Joe Biden in the highest halls of power instead of the duly elected Donald Trump. We're at the point where America's multi-tiered justice system is little more than a steaming pile of shit for the left to rub our faces in. But that's the point. The left thinks they've won, that it's game over for the American Republican, where citizens are free to pursue their own endeavors, and game on for the globalist American empire that is free to persecute its opposition at will. They hear Lizzo singing as they take their victory lap, completely blinded by their own hubris as the American people can no longer deny the evil that they have wrought upon us. If current polls are any indicator, the left's brash, abrasive, and abusive demonstrations of raw, unbridled power have invigorated Trump's base and made him more powerful than ever before. Yes, the Democrats and establishment rhinos wrecked American democracy and stole the 2020 election from the American people. And yes, they will pull every dirty trick in the book, including attempts to remove Donald Trump's name from the ballot to secure a victory in 2024. But if you think that the 2016 election against Hillary kill-list Clinton was on the up and up, I got a bridge to sell you. There's a reason Hillary declined to take a closer look at those close call counties, and it wasn't because of her intrepid faith in the democratic institutions of America. Donald Trump beat the steal in 2016, and he's both bigger now than he was then and better versed in the corruption of America's enemies. Never forget, in the end, God wins. And so does Donald J. Trump.
Never tell them who I am. How